In RADI 100, your DICOM course, we talked about DICOM Modality Worklist, but we also need to talk about Modality Worklist from the HL7 side of things. Every modality gets a list of patients that are having exams that day. When the technologist brings the patient back to the exam room, they choose the patient's name from the Modality Worklist, and the images they do go under that patient's name and demographic information. This reduces the chance of the technologist typing information into the modality incorrectly. Today we're going to learn how that magic happens and what to do when it doesn't work. So, where does the Modality Worklist come from? A modality can get the Modality Worklist from one of two places. It can either come from the RIS or the PACS. It gets served to the modality in a query-retrieve methodology. In other words, the modality has to ask or query the RIS or PACS database for the information and then bring that information back, retrieve, to the modality. The query can be generated in two ways, either manually or automatically, called polling. In a manual process, the technologist initiates the query from the modality, usually by clicking a refresh or update button at the modality console. Typically, this is done each time between patients to update the list with the most current information. In an automatic process, the modality will poll the worklist provider every few minutes to refresh the worklist with the most recent information. Even with an automatic process, the technologist can still manually refresh the list if needed, rather than wait for the next automatic update. Where does the data really come from? Okay, so the modality gets the worklist from either the RIS or the PACS. But where do they get the information from? They get the information to give to the modalities from order messages, ORMs. While some radiology exams do get done as soon as they are ordered, most exams get scheduled. Mammograms may be scheduled to be done a year from when they are ordered. The orders are stored in the database table in either the RIS or PACS, and when a modality requests a modality worklist, the worklist provider uses the database table of pending orders to compile the list for the modality. Will any ORM work? No. For an ORM message to be used to provide modality worklist, it needs to contain data in some particular fields, and they are OR18 placer field 1, the accession number, OBR19 placer field 2, requested procedure ID, OBR20 filler field 1, the scheduled procedure step, and OBR24 diagnostic service section ID, the modality. In simple terms, OBR18 contains the accession number, OBR19 contains what exam is to be done, OBR20 identifies it as a scheduled exam, and 24 identifies what modality will do the exam. Obviously, if every pending order was sent to every modality, that would be a very long list with a lot of unnecessary data in it. So you can imagine if you are the CT tech and you've got CT orders, ultrasound orders, MRI orders, nuke med orders, you'd have to filter through all of those. So it would be nice if at the ultrasound cart you only got the ultrasound orders. So consequently, the list gets filtered by both the modality worklist requester and the modality worklist provider. First, the query is filtered modality. This is totally configurable, but common filters are modality, date, and location. In other words, the CT scanner in the ER would request all CT scans scheduled for today to be done in the ER. When this query gets to the worklist provider, it will then filter its response to match the parameters of the query. It will search its database for CT exams scheduled for today that are to be done in the ER CT scanner. When it works as designed, the ER CT scanner will get a list of all the CT patients that have exams scheduled today in the ER CT scanner. The tech then selects the patient's name from the list, does the scan under that patient's information. However, it doesn't always work right, and that's why we have a job. So the first step in troubleshooting a modality worklist problem is to determine if the problem is at the modality level or the patient level. And the conversation starts like this. The CT tech might say, I'm not getting any modality worklist. And the PACS admin might say, are you not getting any worklist at all? Or is there one patient you can't find on the worklist? Now see how this question is going to determine the troubleshooting path? If the tech answers, I'm not getting any names at all, you know the problem is with the connection between the modality and the worklist provider. On the other hand, if the tech says, I'm not getting Mr. Jones on the worklist, you know the problem is with Mr. Jones's order specifically. So here are some typical modality network issues. If you suspect the problem to be the connection between the modality and the worklist provider, here are some possible causes and things to check. The modality has settings for the modality worklist provider such as AE title, IP address, and port. You want to check that those are correct. You want to ping both the modality and the worklist provider server to make sure they are both on the network. The worklist provider has a record of the modality's AE title, IP address, and port, so it knows what modality is requesting data, so you'd want to check that record on the modality worklist provider server. Also, just for good measure, check the clock settings on the modality, and that will be really important at 2 times in the year. And those are when we set the clocks forward and when we set the clocks back. The modalities don't always update correctly, and consequently they can be an hour off, and that will affect your modality work list. If you suspect the problem to be the patient's order, here are some possible causes and things to check. These range from ridiculously easy to very complex. First, go to the worklist provider, the RIS or PACS, and try and locate the order in that system. You may have to try several searches by name, MRN, and a session number to find the order. This yields another decision point. Either the order is in the database and has a problem, or the order is not there at all. If the order cannot be found in the database, there are 2 possible explanations. The simplest of all is the order hasn't been placed yet. If the ER keeps calling the CT scanner, it says they want the CT done on Mr. Smith, and they keep looking for the order on the work list and they can't find it, it's just very possible the order simply hasn't been placed yet. So you just want to call the provider and say, hey, you need to order the exam so we can do it. Another possibility is the ORM message failed. So you want to check your interface log for failed ORM messages, find the failed message, fix it, and then import it, and that will get the order into your system. Once it's in the system, naturally it will then appear on the modality work list. If you find the order in the worklist provider but it has a defect, most times the easiest thing to do is just make a new order. For example, let's say the CT tech is looking for Mr. Jones' CT head order on February 28th. When you find the order, it's dated for February 30th. Obviously, that's the wrong date, and it's why it doesn't show up on the work list. If you can edit the date on the order, you can fix it that way. If not, you may need to reorder the test with the correct date. Consider another possible scenario. The CT tech calls and says the work list only has one name on it, Mr. Jones. Obviously, the CT scanner requested all the CT scans to be done on February 30th. Because the work list gets filtered by both the modality work list requester and provider, tracing and fixing issues related to a single missing order are the hardest ones to figure out. So that's a little bit about modality work list and the HL7 side of it. Thank you for watching.